The impact of artificial intelligence on Africa. Please give a special Ake welcome to our guests, Ojoma Ochai, Olasupo Oyedepo, and Sani Suleiman, and our host, Olaokun Soyinka. Good morning, everybody. Do you recognize the voice? This is the Ake Arts Book Festival 2023. My name is Olaokun Soyinka, and I welcome you to my panel discussion with Sani Suleiman, Ojoma Ochai, and Olasupo Oyedepo. Yes, thank you. A nice round of applause. This is a change of gear. Those of you who were in the last session, a lot of fantasy and being in the spirit realm, we're bringing you down to earth now. And I've been told not to do any long introductions, but because it's best for the guests to, tell you what they want to about themselves. But I will tell you that we're in great hands here for this session. These three erudite panelists are all professionals working in the tech sector. And we are going to, this is probably the most important session in Ake, by the way. Yes, AI could literally be, an existential, AI is an existential issue. So we need you all to pay attention, because also we will be, although we're talking about AI in general, we will be focusing in on AI and its the pros and cons of AI as far as creativity goes. So with that introduction done, what I'll do is I'll just start with you and then we'll go down the line. Please tell the audience, because we are different. These are all creatives, these are all writers. I'm not saying you guys aren't creative. In fact, I know you write, at least it says so in your bio. But they know less about us, I think, than they might do about some of the well-known writers. So say a little bit about yourself, and then give us a short opening statement, and just take it anywhere. My job is easy today. I'm just going to sit back and listen, having said this. So I'll start with you, please.
All right. Thank you so much for setting the stage. And yes, I do write, but I write policy briefs. I don't write creative outputs. Anyways, my name is Sani Suleiman, and I work with Paradigm Initiative. And we work to promote digital inclusion and digital rights across the continent, and to some extent in the global south. And yeah, after the introduction, should I? Okay. Oh yeah. So we are here to discuss about the impact of AI, in the creative industry. And well, this is a personal statement and personal take. I think one of the areas that are very well, impacted by the issue of AI is the creative industry, because what we have at the moment, for example, when I mention AI, I mean generative AI, because that's the one that is, more relevant to this context than what we are talking about. So the coming up of generating AI, or rather the democratization, because generative AI were in existence since 1950. I mean, but they are just, accessible to some sort of people, professionals and some certain sectors. But the last 5 years, we have seen the democratization of that. And what we don't know, because everybody is trying to figure it out, is it a good thing or a bad thing? And what does it mean to the creative industry? So I'm very sure this is what we are going to discuss today. Thank you.
Ojoma Ochai. I'm managing partner at Co-Creation Hub. We're a Pan-African innovation center that supports digital and creative entrepreneurs across the continent. I'm also co-founder of the creative economy practice at CC Hub, which we founded to enhance the application of technology and innovation in the creative industries in Africa. So we do it through research, ecosystem development, investment readiness work, incubators and accelerators for technology companies that are working in the creative industry specifically, and through investment. I feel like I've come full circle because I started my career as an engineer, a computer engineer. Not many people know this because I'm best known for my work in the arts. It was quite a hard pivot from engineering to network engineering to working in arts management. And I did work for the British Council for many, many years. I left the British Council in 2021 because I was really interested. Actually, throughout my career, the sort of first 15 years, I was working for a lot of international organizations around creative industries. Longest was the British Council, but I also do a lot of work with UNESCO, advising governments around creative industries in Africa and the Caribbean, with the World Bank. And so I feel like in the last 5 years, the two parts of my life have come back together because I now work at that intersection of creativity and tech. And I think one of the very early investigations that I had when I started thinking about tech and creative industries was the impact of emerging technologies on the creative industry. So it's something I've been researching for maybe 5 or 6 years now. Unfortunately, I have more questions than answers after 6 years of researching, but there are a few things I know. The first one is, I think artificial intelligence is here and it's inevitable. Because I still feel like some people are still like, is it here, is it not? I think we can take away from this conversation that it is here, it's inevitable. It's like the horse has bolted. So I feel like we're in a position where we shouldn't be debating whether it is or it isn't. We should be figuring out how do we use it to our advantage. And I've got a few thoughts on this. For those, when I say it's here as well, as looking at some sort of use cases and stats around AI, as of November of this year, there's about 3,000 books on Amazon that have been written or co-written by ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is just one sort of brand of generative AI. If you use streaming platforms, you know how when you watch a film, they'll recommend films you might like. That's AI. So it's already in use. It's not something that will happen in the future. So I think that's the one point to make. I think, to my mind, the question about whether it's existential or not, I kind of feel like when the printing press was discovered, I'm sure some people thought it was existential. Or when, I don't know, digital photography, I'm sure some people thought, oh my God, like what's going to happen to artists? Are they gonna just vanish? So I do agree that the power is unprecedented, but I also recognize that this is not the first technological revolution that we've had, and ultimately we'll be fine or not.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Olasupo Oyedepo. Ages ago, I used to be a core techie. Used to build websites, write programs and stuff. And then I got bored because I don't do very well with authority. And I didn't like answering to people. So I moved into management information systems. And then I realized I just changed one set of ignorant bosses for another set of ignorant bosses. So I just kept moving on until I found a niche that worked for me. Technology strategy, technology policy. And it suddenly gave me an opportunity to hop around this lovely continent and most of the world, telling very powerful people in government what I thought made sense. Now, because by the grace of God, my mom had done a good job. My mom used to teach English language. She'd done a good job, so I knew how to say things that appeared like they made sense. People listened to me. Half of the time I was shocked. Why would anybody listen to me? But I got bored towards the end of COVID, and very foolishly, I hopped into a PhD looking at ethical artificial intelligence. I'm rounding that up. To a large extent, that's really all I'm going to say today, because Ojoma said everything. Yeah. I really don't think we should be having a conversation about the existential nature of artificial intelligence for the creatives or not. I would say to you all, be very careful, don't get distracted. That's a distraction. The conversation should be about application. And as you have an application conversation, then you should move into the most critical thing you should be talking about, ownership. The mistake Africa, apologies to anybody who takes offense, unfortunately, I'm just very good at ticking people off. The truth of it is, distractions are the quickest way to take control of people and take control of societies and situations. So, well, you've all seen the magic tricks. Has anyone ever seen a magician's assistant that's not pretty? Why do they always dress them in bikinis? To distract you while he's doing the whole thing. So let's be careful. Before we get into this long conversation about the existential nature of AI for the creatives or not, it's how you use it. And when you start talking how you use it, who owns it? Think about it. Think about it. I challenge anybody. Ola, please share my number. I give you 10 years. Let me know in 10 years. How many stories, what percentile of stories around the world that sell well, that has any sort of basis in some sort of mythology or fantasy, does not trace its roots back to Africa? Generally, it hinges around the IGAD region, Ethiopia, Kenya, cradle of creation, and that's what sells. The African story has always been told by non-Africans. AI is just the new way to tell. So it's like Ojoma said, we're beyond the should we or should we not. And we should not even be having a conversation about AI and the creatives, not the distraction. We should be having a conversation about how does Africa step up? Apologies, Sani, we had this conversation yesterday. I don't believe in inclusion. I don't believe. Inclusion means, hi, can I join your table? I don't believe in inclusion. It's made me quite unpopular in a number of circles. And, I'll leave. I believe in equality. Invite me to your table and be willing to change your table to meet our purpose. Inclusion is a salve. But let's be careful. Don't let's get into this gunfight with pen knives, thinking we have a hope. But I enjoy hearing these very smart people.
Thank you for that.
Can I pick up on just this last
please.
point that you've made? Somebody asked me recently, what do I think is the biggest opportunity for AI in creative industries in Africa? And I thought to myself, the biggest opportunity is that it is additive and it's not disrupting anything. In the sense that, so if you look at the Hollywood strikes in the last few weeks, the Writers Guild, the Actors Guild are on strike, particularly the writers, and one of the issues was around the use of AI in the script development process. There's legacy infrastructure that's challenged by ChatGPT and other generative AI tools in places like Hollywood. Whereas here, like somebody said to me, they use ChatGPT for their script workshops. And it's not that they're replacing their writer's room with ChatGPT. It is that they did not have a writer's room before. And so they're now using ChatGPT to improve quality. And I'm not saying that we don't have any writer's room, but I'm saying that fundamentally, the legacy infrastructure that will be the pushback and a sort of mitigation for generative AI in many creative industries context, we haven't got it. And I think that's the biggest opportunity. And so I think that the models for how generative AI can be used in the creative industries will actually be built in Africa, because we're not encumbered by the conventions and the systems that will try to limit its opportunity. And so to your point, I think the onus is now on us to take advantage of that lack of encumbrances and start to build those businesses, those models, those approaches and applications of generative AI, because it is possible. It's entirely within our reach, I think.
Thank you for that. Well, that message is coming across loud and clear. The challenge is thrown over to us. I'm taking a privilege to include myself amongst the creatives here. The challenge is being thrown to us, not to fear it, not to ask whether it will kill creativity, but to take the bull by, as it were, and start making it work for us. Now, nevertheless, I'm still going to be a little bit of a devil's advocate, but you all, some of the guests, all of the guests will have got the 10 questions that Ake Festival does every year. And one of the questions this year was on AI. And so everybody answered the question, will AI kill creativity? And in preparation for this session, it occurred to me that we should, we'd asked everybody that question, but we really ought to ask AI. So of course, when we say AI, we talk about ChatGPT, and I'd like to come, by the way, to when we get down the road to talk about maybe other faces of AI, because we're kind of making it synonymous. But anyway, I went to ChatGPT, and I'd like you to all just take 1 second to think, what sort of answer would ChatGPT give if you ask it, will you kill creativity? I have a nice short answer here. This is the answer I got from ChatGPT. I'm here to support and encourage creativity. I definitely won't kill it. In fact, I love to help spark ideas and assist in the creative process. How can I assist you in exploring your creativity? Now, isn't that a sweet answer?
It sounds really sinister.
I'm suspicious, exactly. So I would like to get your take on that answer, because that could either be genuine or it could be, as Shupo mentioned earlier, a distraction. Is it going to kill creativity? So let's start off with that question and then we can go wider.
Well, my take will be that ChatGPT is correct there. So one of the, apprehension of AI, what AI brings to the table is that it's augment human creativity. It comes as a support, because what is art? Let's start with that. I mean, art is its representation. So how do the way you then, express that representation is up to you. That's what defines you. So this is a machine that do not have, and also in the expression, there is an issue of, emotional expression, and machines do not have that emotional expressions, no matter how much they try. Of course, we are talking about the AGI, that is artificial general intelligence, which is, above all of this intelligence, Terminator-like intelligence that can think and everything. But we are far away from that, I mean, at the moment. And so, yeah, will it kill creativity? I do not think so. It depends on how are you willing to leverage on that. Let's come back to the African context. I came across a statistic last year by the Appraising Bank, which says the creative industry generates around $2.2 trillion. And guess what? Only 3% of this it's contributed by Africa and Middle East. So we are already far behind. So what do we then, now that we have a tool that can help us, jumpstart and also catch up with the rest of the world, are we going to say, well, let's hold back, let's see how that happens and what have you? So I think we need to also, echoing what my fellow colleagues said, we need to embrace this. We need to take ownership of this and see how we can catch up with the rest of the world. So, yeah, this is my short answer for now.
Yeah. So I guess my answer is if the camera did not kill visual arts and painting, if the printing press did not kill writing, AutoCAD did not kill architecture, the internet did not kill scholarship, AI is not going to kill creativity. However, I think that as an artist and a creative, it is not AI that will take your job. it will be an artist or creative that knows how to use AI that will take your job.
Yeah, well said.
So first of all, I'd like to ask, can I change my seat?
Where
It
do you
seems
want to sit?
all my ideas and all my thoughts just seem to flow this way, and she's just nicking them. But realistically, so this is my view. First of all, AI would absolutely, completely, irrevocably destroy the creative industry. The exact same way WordPerfect, Microsoft Word, and word processing packages on computers destroyed authorship and typing. It will never, ever, ever happen. It's a tool. We need to be extremely careful. Artificial intelligence is no more of a tool than the camera. Who here's, I saw Sean in the room, so he may remember. Who here remembers Adobe Premiere? One of the first video non-linear editing applications. It chopped off video editing turnaround time by well over 80%. But then you needed lots of compute because you queue everything and you render overnight. And these guys went away, and we woke up one morning, and first it was just, once you scan all your videos into a digital format, you were just dragging and dropping. It was like you were doing Corel Draw. And what have you got? George Lucas recreated technology. He created new technology and built a company around it, and that's how they made the first Avatar. Who here remembers the first Matrix? The technology it took to do that effect, where Neo on the roof leans back, and the bullet scrapes his leg, it changed the entire film industry. Technology is not going to kill creativity. However, like money and power, technology is going to exacerbate and emphasize what exists. What will happen is, with time, technology will make us quickly find who are the really, really lazy creatives who just churn things around, because sooner or later, the juices you need to fire in your brain to conceptualize, you will just rely on technology to do it. So AI, no hope of killing creativity. It can dull it, it can emphasize it. But apologies, Sonny, I'm going to disagree with you on something. We're not far from Terminator and all that. It's around the corner. About 2 years ago, some lady asked one of these AI assistants that's very common, I've been having a pounding headache, migraine's been running for quite a while, what do you recommend? Guess the answer she got? Cut off your head. Think about it. No, don't think sentimental, don't think emotional, be logical. Human beings are the greatest polluters of this planet. If ideally a technology system that was cold, logical, was to be asked, what's the best way to halt pollution and turn things around? Ideally, shouldn't it be just exterminate humans? So it's going to be, to a large extent, that old phrase we all know about computers, garbage in, garbage out. ChatGPT, Palm, whatever it is, it's going to start with somebody who takes the system and builds the model. And that's where Africa has been dropping the ball. And that's where we will perpetually be dropping the ball if we don't get really, really aggressive. It's not about how it impacts it. It's really about what are the baseline, what are the core programs that's driving it. If they're not African, if they don't factor in our context, our history, our identity, we would always be outside the window, please let me in, please let me in, and then we'll turn around and say, oh, the world is so terrible, they're excluding us.
So, yeah, I want to throw in another question, but yeah, you respond to that.
Yeah, I just wanted to, not responding, something actually. I just wanted to, add to what Ojoma said about um, what who what or who is replacing your job. I mean, one of the things that the generative AI provides is, first, as a creative, it it challenges your creative bias. People do have preconception of how or what is possible, but these tools provide you with you know first divergent thinking, to help you come up with with new ideas by associate associating remote concepts that you maybe with your preconceived ideas might not be able to come up with. I came across another experiment on LinkedIn some time back. We know Mid Journey, which is text to image software, were asked to come up with an animal that is half butterfly and half elephant. It doesn't make sense at all, but at the end of the day, it comes up with pantherfly, and it looks so beautiful. So this is something that normally you wouldn't think of. So yes, who is taking your job is who is you know who knows about these technologies than you are. So yeah, just to add to that.
So to keep this practical now, because basically you've thrown out some challenges, you've given us some very positive and optimistic points, which is basically could be summarized as let's not let AI happen to us. Let's go out there and grab it. So we have a bunch of creative people here. They're producing words or pictures or sculptures or films. What are the strategies and maybe even some specific tactics that they can take when they leave Ake and say, my life, my creative life is going to be turbocharged because I went to Ake and I heard this? Can you give some advice to the people here as to how best they can embrace AI and use it to turbocharge their creativity?
Yes, but I think before that, we also need to, because I don't think we discuss the threat this, technology um, presents, maybe in the context of Africa. And maybe when you understand the threats, then you can find a way to navigate around. And I think one of the challenges as well, the issue of content integrity. Now that we have, this generative outputs polluting the internet and everything. I mean, you just have content that is polluting the internet, and it blurs the line between what is fiction and what is fact, what is true, and what have you. So being able to understand that, yes, this is the reality that we are in and how you can navigate that, it's very, very important. And also the second aspect, apart the content integrity, is the issue of intellectual property, whereby these models are using data, and this data, trust me, including the African data, are being, taken from the internet and other sources and feeding these models, and then it cycles back to, what is the output? Is it the true output or not? And also another issue, which I think is the most important for me, is the model collapsing, the issue of model collapsing. We are taking this data and we are feeding these models, and these models are making outputs, and this output, we are taking it again and feeding. So it's a synthetic data, like all over. In the next 10 years, then what happens? What happens to the creative industry? I mean, what is true and what is original, what is authentic, and what have you. So coming back to your question is, what creatives can do? I mean, you do not have to be technical You do not have to learn how to build this. You do not have to. Of course, it's important to have people, natives, that are working on these models and what have you. But you do not have to. As a creative, your question is always on how do I, improve efficiency with these tools. Let's take these tools and, as collaborators. How do I improve my innovation with these tools? Because using all this, weaving of remote concepts, remote ideas, how do I think differently? How do I crowdsource ideas from these tools or from other people that I can collaborate with? So, I mean, with that in mind, you just have to, because the sector is moving very fast. All you need to do is just to ensure that you know the basics. What is happening at the moment, I know of these technologies, I know what they are capable of. You don't have to be too technical, but just learn all the basics, and also make sure you are improving yourself every year to catch up with what is happening. So that's my...
So don't be afraid. Familiarize yourself with AI. And I like that phrase, make AI tools your collaborator. Over to you.
I'm almost tempted to tell you to go first, so you won't say I stole your ideas.
No, you must go before him. Let's torture him.
Okay, so I think I just wanted to pick up on the copyright point. For me, AI is existential for copyright, because the basis of copyright at the moment is original creation and human creation. And so if a machine creates something that, to my mind, is completely out of the realm of what the current intellectual property regime administers or regulates for. So I feel like, just picking up on your point about the threats, although I see it as an opportunity, I feel like we need to start building new models for how we manage intellectual property and copyright. And we can start testing out new ways of just managing that context of IP. But to your question about the practical steps, I think the first thing is research. You can't conquer what you don't know, right? And to my mind, the goal is complete conqueration. Because you guys are writers, I know you have a better word for that. For
Conquest.
Conquest. Thank you. Conquest. It doesn't feel as sweet, though. Complete conqueration of AI. And so I feel like research, we need to understand it. We need to know what are the tools that are available. We need to know what are the pros and cons of the different options on the market. So I think the first thing is research. I think the second thing is just use it, right? And I'm not saying go out and do a whole ChatGPT generated book, but you can't understand the extent of the possibility if you're not testing it and using it in different contexts. So I'd say another practical thing is use it. I think perhaps more importantly, the whole world is trying to figure out this AI thing. And there's so many platforms at the moment for consultation around ethics of AI, governance of AI. The UN SecGen, I think last month, inaugurated an AI advisory council that are currently doing consultations around a global multilateral framework for AI governance in the world. Historically, Africans don't participate in those kinds of things. People will submit papers, people will submit opinions, we tend not to. So I feel like a thing that you can go out tomorrow is look for those forums where the regulation and the ethics and the governance of AI are being discussed, and lend your voice so that there are perspectives in these global frameworks that are being shaped, and it doesn't end up becoming something that's done to us when we now have the opportunity to shape what it is. I saw a tweet from somebody earlier today. He was saying that living in Nigeria today he feels like it's like living in America in the 1900s, where you can pretty much shape the world in a sense. And I think we shouldn't waste that opportunity. And if we're not participating in these global frameworks that are being built, we will miss the boat.
Thank Thank you. And Shupo, you've been spoken for, so I don't need
One
to.
second.
No. Yeah, don't.
No, this is a dance because one original idea.
No, I'm skipping over you. I'm assuming she's spoken for you. But anyway, go ahead, Shupo, and don't go past when that
Very
gets to 20,
quickly,
you have
on
to
the
stop.
point of IP and copyright, to a large extent, it was a case in the US, but to a large extent, precedent has been set. In March or April this year, one of the highest courts in the States upheld a decision by the US Office of Copyright. So some guy had tried to, he'd applied for copyright for an artwork he said was generated by an AI system. US Office of Copyright had turned him down, and the case, he'd appealed, the case had been progressing, but I think it was March or April this year, was decided humanity and sentience is a critical factor for copyright and IP. So think about that. It's in the States, but max, a year or two, EU Commission is going to come out with something that defines it, and once they do that, is law. Everybody else is going to be running around and trying to pick up. As to what you guys can do with AI the one thing AI is best at: handling, manipulating, using data. Use AI to curate. Use AI to search. So years ago, when I was in University of Lagos studying electrical engineering, we had, beside the electrical engineering department, there was this open space. For those who schooled in Nigeria, you'll understand what this means. We used to call it dubbing center. No, because you get assignments over the weekend. Monday morning, you get to dubbing center like 7 a.m. There's one person who's done all the assignments, and I kid you not, there's a copy of it on one of the tables, and everybody's just dubbing and copying off it. Thank God for sustainability. So then you submit this, and this poor lecturer goes through 54 or 100 and something script, and everybody passes. And then we all woke up one day, and Turnitin surfaced. And suddenly Turnitin messed everybody up. So I do lecture all sorts of tech and professional ethics related stuff. And when I get assignments from my students, first thing, run it through Turnitin, and I instantly know what assignment or exam I'm going to cancel and say, let's rewrite, or stuff like that. So technology can help you. But the main thing technology can do for you creatives is curate. So Lola, where you would ask your staff and spend 3 months researching, has anybody else thought about this idea or played with it? Pop it into a few AI-powered search engines, and in 15 minutes, you know it's new, it's original, let's go with it, or you know, let's kill it. This is what tech can do for you. Or else, you're going to wake up one morning and your competition would not be some guy in California or some guy in Spain. It will be a 16-year-old in Oxbridge College who is writing a term paper that blows everybody's mind. But trust me on this, AI is your bestest, ultimatest friend. And to quote you, you have to effect the conquerization of AI.
Thank you. Well, that's certainly shows that even our technical wonks can be creative on stage, on the fly. Now, we've got a start Q&A message here, so we're going into the Q&A session. I'm sure we have plenty of questions. Rona.
Yeah, I'm very interested in this because I think the creative sector can actually learn from journalism. African journalists, to my great pride, were not sitting back about AI. We've started to use AI, and maybe to give a few examples that might help creatives. So first of all, everyone is starting to come up with their own AI newsroom policy, from the AP to the Namibian in Southern Africa. I think publishing houses and creatives have to start, first of all, grappling where AI threatens or enhances their policy. You can start from there. So journalism, we already sort of understand it. Then we're starting to deconstruct. So for example, in journalism, we use AI to generate bulletins, and that is to protect the staff. Because if some people are seen presenting the news, they will be arrested. So I think it's deeper than what the output can be. It can actually help you with creative freedom, but at the same time, we had Omen and Amag or so decide they wouldn't be using AI, even though it was saving them for the task of generating images, even though it was saving them money. And when I asked them on Twitter why, they said because they, even though they still need money, they do not want to take money out of the pockets of actual creatives. So I think we have to start grappling where exactly we can get stuck in, because every time you use AI, you are contributing to the corpus, the text of language that already exists, and that can help us towards stopping the discrimination we speak about. So I feel we don't even have to wait to join what is existing in terms of legislation or whatever. Even from here, we can have an AI group for the creative sector, because it's things like that that Lola is good at. So we can start trying to grapple and think about it. But I think we can learn from journalism in Africa. Small newsrooms are actually using AI, and there's a lesson for all of us from there. I just wanted to add that to the conversation.
Yeah, no, great example. And I hope if there's anybody sitting here who has any other great examples of directions to go in and what's already happening that we can be part of, please do speak up. But yeah, I have a hand there. The lady in, oh gosh, I'm colorblind. Is that green? No. Okay.
Lots of green and blue. Hello, my name is Angela. I am a writer. So I would say that, in my opinion, AI is killing creativity. And this is what I mean. People who are not creatives. No, so creativity takes years. It takes experience, it takes time, it takes challenge to build. Now, people who don't have the understanding about creativity have decided to use ChatGPT, to use Midjourney, and to use other apps in the world right now to join the creative space. So I wouldn't say there's not enough space, because over 8,000 books are being published per month. So you can say that there is an avenue for books. But if the quality of the books that are being produced by ChatGPT keep on dropping the level of reading, that means the readers that are out there that are looking for books would no longer want books that take years. For example, I want to be traditionally published, and I know that the timeline for traditional publishing is about 2 years to get the manuscript into the developed phase. People would treat books as fast fashion. And the use of ChatGPT is that it's been trained on what we put inside. So you tell it, write a girl being proposed by a guy, and ChatGPT gives you the simplest of proposals. And you tell it, no, I want this scene that the girl walks in, does this before the guy proposes. And ChatGPT says, okay, let's try this method. And you say no. And you keep on telling it no, you keep on refining your prompt. And what ChatGPT does is that it learns through your prompt. So I would say that yes, it can be helpful, like he said, to curate things for creatives. But the moment that we start using ChatGPT to release things out into the public, it will kill creativity. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
Can
any
I
quick
respectfully disagree?
Quick response.
So Angela says creativity takes years. I don't agree. I think skills and experience takes years, but creativity does not take years. Creativity should not be policed. We're not doctors. Nobody will die if I do a mediocre creative work. And I think that's perfectly fine. So I think the premise of your argument that it should take time for creativity to build on, I think that argument is faulty, because creativity just is. The difference is, in terms of time, to your point, is you get more experience, you get more skilled, and you're able to use the tools at your disposal better. So yeah, that would just be my sort of gentle rebuttal to that.
Okay, Shubo.
let's be careful not to hit the microwave because it can heat up your food much faster than the traditional way. If some guy uses ChatGPT or some other generative tool and he keeps changing the prompt and he turns up with something that sells, humongous apologies, Angela, it just means he's produced a better product. So you need to up your game if you decide to play in that field. You either match him weapon for weapon or you step out of the game. That is the reality, in my opinion.
Let me also add to that. Her points are quite valid, actually, and this is what happens whenever there is, global transformation. From 1950 to date, there were 4 global transformations from, the steam engines to electricity to IT, and now, believe it or not, we are in the AI transformation, and it's not going anywhere. And whenever there is transformation, people do fear about, what is it going to be? Because it's a human nature to fear the unknown. We don't know what is going to happen. So yeah, that's a valid point. But also what it does is, it lowers the barrier to the entry of creative industry. And I think it's debatable to say that's a good or that's a bad thing. I do not know as well. I need that answer. But it lowers the barrier. I mean, you do not have to have that technical skills to be able to come up with something. And even a person that do not have that technical skill now have the liberty to think and come up with something. It's totally fine. You don't have to, spend so many years practicing before you do that. And trust me, good things will come out of that. So yeah, I totally understand where she's coming from, but also it's there. We just have to embrace it.
Can I say one quick additional thing, just to your point about fast fashion and ChatGPT being akin to that? I think the fact that AI is here and it's inevitable doesn't mean you must use it, right? And that's why I'd slightly disagree with you. Because even in the midst of fast fashion, we still have bespoke, couture, all of those things exist in an ecosystem that feeds off each other. And it feels like we're now even coming full circle where everybody's now talking about circularity, sustainability. And so I don't think everybody needs to use AI. My point is that they're using AI does not make the work automatically mediocre and does not somehow reduce the value. So if your philosophy, if your thesis is, I don't want to use AI because I want to be the couture fashion of the AI transformation, that's totally within your gift and is a totally honorable path to follow if that's what you choose.
So there'll be more competition and lots more rubbish, but also lots more great stuff. Right. So I've got lots of hands coming up here, but I'm going to be going backwards and forwards because you guys, you've been discriminated against. Elias.
Thank you so much. This is, as you earlier mentioned, this is a very important conversation because what is happening globally, the AI, generative AI, is really dominating the number of books that are being published, or is really, my question is that AI is an algorithm, and the algorithm take the text from words, canned words. Books, the first book was published since Gutenberg about 600 years old. Okay, for 600 years, most of the books that were published until 60 years ago, when the African independence was realized, were books that really demean Africa. And I think Dr. Tamnit resigned or fired from talking about how AI is racist. We remember this. And even now, I think AI is not racist because, for whatever they have done. But the content that exists in the clouds is racist. And in the last 60 years, that Africa could not, what do you call it? The books published by African academics, African writers. I think Ake or Nigeria is a book creativity happen for us. Yes, yes. To be in Ake in Nigeria is really, it's not, the reality in the world is not this. You don't see, this is the first time I'm in the majority talking about Africa and listening African writings and speaking and wonderful creativity. This is not what the world look like, especially in the West. This is not the reality. The libraries don't have books. If you go to any any American libraries or European libraries, the Africa shelf is one, if you're lucky, or one shelf, or one row. And within that, I won't be able to find two books on Ethiopia. You understand? What I'm talking about is that the books we are creating as Africans is very, very limited. And if you compare the 600 years old text and the last 60, the small one, AI would continue to have that problem and that gap just to fight. So the imbalance that we need to talk about as publishers, as writers, as much as we are competing with the AI revolution, the generative revolution, and I think we have to find a way to engage with the people who are running the technology, who are running the data, so that Africa should have a better kind of deal. I don't know what it will give us tomorrow. Today it's giving us the things we want, but tomorrow if somebody decided to switch the text, we are done. And I think we have to find a way to deal with that, and I think if you have any point.
Okay, now, keep an eye on that time. I want to get at least 2 more questions in, so let's keep it brief.
5-second response to you. So, to a large extent, you have articulated the problem and you have solved the problem. Don't think of the books. Don't think of what's been produced. Think of the stories the books are telling. And the real question, the real issue, is not that they're 600 years ahead of us. They're 200 years ahead of us. The real question is, do we realize that? And when we realize that, do we take on that sense of urgency to address it? Unfortunately, very, very unfortunately, all of you here multiplied by 1 million could not solve that problem because it's not a creative problem. It's a systemic problem that goes all the way right up to the very top. We need to think in the mindset of, until the lion learns how to write, the story of the hunt is going to glorify the hunter. I don't begrudge anywhere in the global north for not having material on Africa. They don't owe us that. And once we realize they don't owe us that, first of all, we stop asking permission. We start defining. What do you think would happen if Africa was to create a literary ecosystem without caring about the rest of the world? They would flock here.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to take 2 more questions. There was a hand just over there. Were you the one who put your hand up earlier? Okay. Please, microphone over here. Okay, just stand up and shout.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Chisum. I'm a writer. And most creative spaces now in the, let's say, writing industry are kind of, they abhor this ChatGPT or every other AI-related tools. And they're like, once you use this and we find out we are not going to accept your work, or we are not going to publish you, or we are going to blacklist you. So now when you say we need to use these tools, if we can't even do the job of the writing itself, when almost all the markets have blacklisted this tool, like if you check all the, even the short story publishing spaces, the book publishing spaces, they are all saying we don't use AI. So how do we really do that? And something else I wanted to talk about, I wanted to say was, when I think Ojoma said that the printing press did not take away creativity and the internet and stuff like that, I wanted to say, to respond to that, the printing press did not do any writing. The printing press was just there, like, maybe this is the company, you understand? But AI is actually doing the writing. When you say photography, cameras did not take away photography or creativity. It's a different thing. What is happening now is that the AI that we have now, the AI generative tools, are actually doing the photography now. They're doing the writing, they're producing the works. So it's different from the printing press that is just there. So this is, I said, a leap in, I don't know,
There's a qualitative
forward
difference.
leap,
Yeah.
like
Okay,
orders of magnitude higher than the printing press.
Thank you very much. We need to get the answers in, so I'll stop you there. So, is it qualitatively different?
So I think it's orders of magnitude more transformational. But I think the first thing we need to get clear in our heads, which I've done, is the inevitability. We can rationalize from now till next year. It's here, it's happening. The question is not, is it right or wrong? It's here. So it's now a question of how do you use it or not. And to your point about platforms not accepting ChatGPT, the curve of technology adoption, it always begins with resistance. And so I'm not surprised. I think the opportunity here, though, is in platforming. So those people have the platforms, but because we live in a different context now, fine, you can go through the traditional routes that do not want anything to do with ChatGPT, but thankfully there are ways to reach your audiences without those platforms. I think it's inevitable. I think in time, the platforms will catch up with the reality that AI is here, generative AI is here, it's not going anywhere. To the point about data, I think we definitely need African-generated data to train large language models. And so I know there's already a lot of work, both in terms of language, in terms of narrative and perspectives. We do need African investment to go into generating training data that makes sure that a generative AI is not biased, because at the moment it is, and we need to fix that.
Thank you. I think we can squeeze in one last question. Or did you want to
no. Also, Ojoma, articulated what I have, so now I feel, I
Okay.
feel.
Let's, okay, there's somebody determined.
I just think we should also note something that we haven't mentioned. There are lots of lawsuits going on right now around AI, especially the one that steals from writers and regurgitates, and then even artists. There's some artists right now, because of the ongoing lawsuits, even if you put the prompt, create blah, blah, blah for me in the style of Jim Lee, an actual person who was mentioned in the lawsuit, it will not give you anything that looks like Jim Lee because it's in court. So there's also those things, because if you're talking about applying AI to creativity, there's the issue of intellectual property theft. And then maybe that's all for that. Then quickly to add that, let's not forget that AI also lies.
Yeah, that's
So
very
there's
true.
all these issues as well. I'm not
Hallucination.
I'm not a naysayer necessarily, but I'm just saying we need to mention these.
Well, we've run out of time. I'm so sorry I didn't get round to some of you holding up your hands. I was hoping we could get to you, but please come and buttonhole any of our wonderful panelists afterwards if you have any further questions or want to discuss further. Please, a wonderful round and a special Ake round of applause for Sani Suleiman, Ojoma Ochai, and Olasupo Oyedepo.